Hello all you lovely otaku. I am so excited that Aggretsuko Season 3 is out. I binged the whole thing on Thursday. So I thought that we'd look at one of Retsuko's rage songs to compare the localized dub translation of the song to the more literal translation. Yeah, yatterareru ka does not mean screw you capitalism, but it is not too far of a reach to localize it that way. Songs are some of the most difficult things to translate. Sometimes it's because they're poetic or vague in nature, and other times it's just because they don't necessarily contribute to the story per se, they contribute more to the characters and the characters' emotions. So as such, when a song is translated, oftentimes liberties will be taken. Sometimes, and you'll notice in this song, liberties are taken so that the lines still rhyme. Just as one example. And all of the songs in Retsuko are like this, so I thought that dissecting one of them would be a good way to illustrate how localizations can be taken to more extremes in songs and what that would look like. So let's dive into it. So, yatterareru ka. This is yatte means to do something, and then rareru is the short form of irareru, which is to remain in the state of being. So do remain in the state of being, and then ka is the question marking particle, so do remain in the state of being, question mark? Or in good English, it's more like, can someone really keep doing this? That's what yatterareru ka or yatterareru ka literally means. But if you've been following this channel for more than 2 videos, you probably know that I like to take things a little further from the extreme literal translation to tell you what they really mean in English. Can I really keep being in the state of doing this thing, question mark? The sentiment here that's being expressed too with this yatterareru ka, that ka in there, it's defiant, it's a little sarcastic, it's very angry. So if I were in a state where I am asking, how can I or a person really keep doing this? If I'm doing so in a defiant and angry and sarcastic sort of way, what I really mean to say is, screw this. And then what is this, you might ask? We would have to consult what she was saying before the song. So Retsuko is lamenting basically capitalism. She's not naming it, but she is lamenting the fact that, well, in order to survive in this world, in Japan, you have to work, and pay those bills. And that's all your life is. It's just this endless cycle of working and paying your bills and working and paying your bills and working and paying your bills. Some might describe that as capitalism, or just the negative aspects of capitalism. And thus, that is how we get screw you capitalism from yatterareru ka. Now, I'm just gonna say that as clever and as funny as I think that translation was, I lolled when I read screw you capitalism the first time when I heard her saying yatterareru ka. I still would not have localized it that far. I probably would have translated that as screw this or fuck this shit if I were allowed an F-bomb. I don't think they're allowed F-bombs in this sub. They are allowed some swear words, but yeah, I would have translated it something along those lines because she's not really naming capitalism. She's not really anti-capitalist. And as such, well, I think screw you capitalism is just kind of a funny line, and she doesn't literally mean, like, screw you capitalism. I still probably wouldn't have translated it that far. I think I would have stopped at screw this. So the next line, kane no kireme da. This is part of a long idiom. So if I were to translate that literally, that's just flat out wrong. It would be like if I were to translate "don't count your chickens before they've hatched" literally into another language that does not have that expression. What "don't count your chickens before they've hatched" means, if you're not a native English speaker, it means don't get your hopes up, don't like make plans for things before something else has come to fruition. Like if I'm dating someone and it seems like things are going well and I start like buying a wedding dress and like planning my wedding and everything, that would be counting my chickens before they've hatched. So that's what that whole idiom means. Likewise, this kane no kireme da, that's part of, it's like the first half of an idiom. So the whole phrase is kane no kireme ga en no kireme. So kireme is a gap, and kane is money, and en is, it's a complicated word, it's like relationships. So it basically means when the money runs out, so do your relationships. This phrase is usually officially translated as when poverty comes in, love flies out. So that's kind of the sentiment that's being expressed there. So we're only talking about the first half of that, kane no kireme, and then the da is making it more like a desu, a complete thought. So she's basically referencing this whole idiom. So she's basically lamenting, oh, you need money to have friends, or oh, when I don't have money, I don't have friends or love anymore. And it was localized as the cash I'm not gettin'. And that's pretty much along the same vein. She's lamenting the fact that she doesn't have money. The next line is defo de murige da. Defo is default, like to default on a loan or a payment. And then murige, I imagine that's murige or murigemu. It doesn't have the little dash that stretches out the ge, but I'm pretty sure it's that. Because eroge, like you don't stretch that in eroge. I'm pretty sure that's murigemu. So murigemu, muri means impossible, so it's sort of like a rigged game, a rigged system. So it's a rigged system with defaults on payments, loans. And the localization of this is, the debt I'm still frettin'. So the frettin was just a clever way of rhyming with gettin in the former line, so that's why there's frettin in there. Obviously she is fretting. Obviously she's like stressed out and everything, so it's not wrong to put frettin in there, even though that was not in the original Japanese lyrics. And they translated default as debt. So to say default in English, we might come up with a lot of ideas in our head of what default means. I don't know, when I hear default, I don't necessarily automatically think defaulting on loan payments. I think of like a default setting on my computer screen or something. That's what I think of when I hear default. So I think that's partly why it was changed from default to debt. Default would just sound really weird, but debt, that's very clear. We know exactly what that is. And you don't have defaults on payments for debts without debt. So again, it's not really that far of a stretch to translate that as debt. The next line's pretty straightforward. Kono basho wa ima. If you've been through my Japanese for Beginners series, you know what all that means. Kono basho, this place. Ima, now. Right now, this place, ... We're going to follow it up with some more information. But it was localized as the flames of financial hell. So that's completely not what kono basho wa ima is, but let's see what that second half of that thought is to see how the flames of financial hell go into that.赛の河原. I actually had to look this up because I didn't know it's another idiom-y thing. So anyway,賽の河原, that is referencing, wasn't there that legend where that guy is like carrying the boulder up a hill and it's impossible and it's never gonna happen. And that's what that means. It means like it's a futile or a wasted effort. And I saw in the translations children's limbo. I have never heard of children's limbo. I've never heard of that. Maybe it is an archaic English expression that I have never heard of. But yeah, it basically means a futile, wasted effort. So the literal Japanese is, this place right now is a futile, wasted effort. Question mark. Is this place a futile, wasted effort? And the localization is, the flames of financial hell got me sweating. So again, the sweatin', it rhymes with fretting and getting. So that whole sweating thing, its main purpose there is just to rhyme, so that this sounds more like a song that was written in English, because English songs rhyme. I really like the flames of financial hell have got me sweatin'. It is not by any means like a translation or a literal translation of what the Japanese was, but it does still kind of express that same sentiment. The Japanese sentiment is like, this is futile. I mean, imagine if you are that person who's like lugging this boulder up a hill and it's completely futile. It's hell, you're in hell, and it's eternal, and it's futile, and there's no escape. So you have some similar imagery there. In Western culture, I think we're a lot more likely to kind of go to hell, like we're more likely to envision that fiery inferno below us, to imagine something that's futile or hopeless or eternal suffering. Japanese people aren't as likely to go there because most of them are not Christian. Tsumiyageta ishi wa sugu ni kuzusarete. So tsumiyageru is to stack things, and then ishi is stones. So stacked stones. Sugu ni, immediately, kuzusarete, so that's like the passive tense of like to be crumbled, basically, to be deteriorated, to be destroyed. So the stacked stones are immediately crumbled. That's what that literally means. The localization was, no matter what I do, I'm always destined to fail. So sometimes this happens in song localizations where a line will be kind of delayed a bit. This line I feel like is a good translation of the line that came before it with賽の河原. And also the stacking the stones and then them immediately crumbling away, that's a metaphor. That's just a poetic, it's a metaphor for everything I build up. It's futile, it just keeps failing. So it was more like an interpretation of what this line was poetically saying and combining it with the sentiments from the last line. As you can see, it's not like a story is not happening. There's no narrative that's really happening. It's Retsuko expressing her emotions, her despair, like her feeling of hopelessness, and her hatred for how money is ruling her life. So that's how all of these things can still work without being a perfectly literal translation. 朝になればまだ届く請求書. So 朝になれば, when or if morning comes, mata, again, todoku, arrive. So if when tomorrow morning comes, it will arrive again. What will arrive again? The seikyusho, which is invoices or bills. So literally, when morning comes, more bills arrive again. And the localization of that was, and every damn day, another bill is coming in the mail. And that's a pretty close translation. It's not like literal. It's like every damn day instead of tomorrow. But mata, again, implies, well, every day she gets these new bills. Owarane rat race. So owarane, that's owaranai, endless, unending, and then the at the end just makes it rougher, more masculine sometimes, but also just kind of rougher. So endless rat race, and it's localized as endless rat race, and yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Shiharau tame ni ikiru sei. I'm not sure how that kanji is actually supposed to be pronounced by itself. I even looked up ikiru and then that kanji just to see if it's like a expression and how it would actually be pronounced. That kanji is pronounced so many different ways. Who even knows? Like Google Translate said it was nama, and then like my little thingy on my program that you can use to put furigana on kanji, it said it was sei. It could be sho. Who knows? But anyway, and you can't tell what she's saying because she's growling it in her death voice, so you can't really tell. But anyway, it's basically the kanji to live twice, and the first time it's a verb and the second time it's a noun. Shiharau is to pay, basically. Tame ni is for the sake of or in order to, so in order to pay. Ikiru, life. So this life that I live exists only to pay bills, is basically what that line means. And it was localized as working just to work more. I think that does have more of a ring to it. It sounds a little better than like living life just to pay bills. I mean, I guess there's a more poetic way I could say living life just to pay bills. But working just to work more, like that is consistent with the sentiments of the rest of the song. I mean, how can you pay your bills or pay things without working? Hiyagaru made tsuzuku fusai. Hiyagaru is to shrivel up and dry out. So I think, again, metaphorically, to wither and die is kind of what we would say in English, poetically speaking. And then made, so until I wither and die. Tsuzuku, continue. And then fusai is debt. So tsuzuku fusai is like the continuing or the never-ending debt until I wither and die. So everlasting debt until I wither and die is kind of what that line means. And then the localization was, this is a real reach. I don't know about this one. Jail cell, no door. I mean, it's expressing again this, it's futile and it is everlasting. She is trapped in this rat race, in this hell forever. No door means you can't get out, you can't escape. And again, the door is there to rhyme with the two lines that came before it. So anyway, I thought that would be a fun little peek into how songs can be localized and to the point where they're basically an English cover. Like this is an English language version of the song. It's more than just a translation. I have done some of these English covers on this channel, by the way. If you want to check out the links in the description, I've done like 3 anime covers in English, and there's whole channels that do a bunch of that as well, so check that out if you're interested. Also check out Retsuko if you haven't already. It's a really fun anime, and the episodes are super short and the seasons are short, so it's really fast to get through it. And another cool thing that I just discovered with Retsuko specifically, and it might be true with other anime series on Netflix that have English dubs, but Retsuko has a Japanese subtitle track, or like a Japanese captions track. So you can watch Retsuko in a number of ways. You can watch it with like the English dub track with the English subtitles from the Japanese track, and you'll notice that they're different. The dub script versus a subscript. That's really cool, seeing like how they're different from each other.
I'm gonna give you the money, but only because you totally 86'd your own dignity.
And then another thing you can do is you can watch it like in Japanese with Japanese captions. So I get a lot of questions from people asking, oh, where can I watch Japanese anime in Japanese with Japanese captions? The answer is those places that used to exist no longer exist. So I don't know where to find it typically, but at least Retsuko, you can, if you live in the US or if you have a VPN and can log in through the US, you can watch Retsuko in Japanese with Japanese captions. That was all, and I hope you all have a lovely day.